Rogers TV.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello and welcome back for another episode of Canberra Arts and Rogers TV at the Stage Door. This week we're going up the hill in Corner Brook to talk to some of the folks from the Grenfell Fine Arts. They have a very exciting production coming up very soon. So I'm here with Lisa and Autumn to talk a little bit about that. But before we dive in, we'll talk a little bit about you. So welcome to the Stage Door, folks. Lovely to have you.
It's lovely to be here.
So we'll start by talking a little bit about your individual backgrounds. So Lisa, we'll start with you because you're to my immediate left. And what gave you your start in the arts? You're multidisciplinary. You do dance, you do theater.
Yes.
So what was the bug? When did you catch it? When you dove in?
I used to do a lot of things actually. Ever since I was like 5 years old, it's art school, it's sports, all of the things. And then one day at 14 years old, I started myself in theater, and I was like, oh, but this is actually something I'm more than interested. It's something that clicks. And then from then, it was just like a thing that I was interested the most in, so I just kept going with it. And yeah, and then I was in one school, and then I was in a different school, and then it's university. So that's why I'm here.
Sometimes that's all it takes, right? Is that kind of initial moment, and then you find yourself on that path and that journey. It's a gift to talk to different artists every week and hear where our stories, because so many of the artists say a similar thing, that there is some point in their teen years, which is often when you decide you're going to leave something or you're going to stick with it at that point because you're too busy to do 100 things anymore. So I think it's great that that story lines up. And you actually have went to a couple of different schools, even at the university level, before arriving in Corner Brook. So what of your journey brought you here?
So my first couple of schools were just like acting schools for kids, basically, and I was 14 when I started. And then initially I went to the Eastern Illinois University, but I transferred here last semester for just some document reasons, actually.
Yeah.
But I actually enjoy being in Grenfell a lot. So I'm kind of grateful that the things that happened to me happened in terms of like visas and all of that stuff, which was not pleasant, but it led me here. So yes, it's a fate.
You know, I think there is such thing as a happy accident, and I know when we studied clowning, there was always the gift from the clown gods, as it was called, when something goes wrong, but you use it as part of your turn. And I think that's like something that all artists have, is we never know what the next step is going to be. Had I not met Gian here at Rogers, I wouldn't be hosting this, and we met outside of that world. So there's always those magical connections that happen along the way, and then it's like, oh, cool, here I am. So Autumn, you're here for the first time at Grenfell, which is so exciting. I've heard wonderful things from a number of the students and some of your colleagues as well. So well done on making that great impression. And we'll go back to your roots as well. So what was the moment, and often for directors, there's a couple moments along the way where it starts in one space and then it's like, but then I was like, maybe I could create something. And
I know.
It's a loop on a loop on a loop. So where did it all begin?
Let's harken back to the 70s, shall we? No, I actually started out as a dancer, same as Lisa. When I was 5, my brother was a figure skater, and he was told he wasn't flexible enough. So he got shoved into dance class, and I sat there in awe every week. And I'm like, this is what I need to be doing. I need to dance. And then at 9, our local theater company in Oshawa, Ontario, was doing Music Man. and they needed child dancers. So that was my leap in, and
Amazing.
it did not stop. My love just expanded and grew more immense, and it was great. And then directing, I mean, I was in musical theater for a really long time. I started in school for musical theater, and then about 3 months into that program, one of my professors said, "You should be a director. You've got a lot of ideas." I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I went with it, and I never looked back. And I love directing, and yeah, so that's it. That's the trajectory. And I ran my own Irish theater company for a really long time in Toronto.
Excellent.
And now I run my own theater company in Muskoka.
Wow. So, you certainly keep busy. And I think that's one of the great things about Grenfell's program, for those that don't know, is there is almost always a guest professor in some capacity, whether they're doing a master class, which is a less performance-based program, or whether it's directing one of the performances. But it's always so exciting. I remember when I was a student there for my 4 years, it was such a gift to have people come in and, not only know that you're supported by the consistent faculty, but get to really expand your knowledge and your resume with these amazing guests that came in. And, slowly but surely, a lot of these folks, began calling Newfoundland home in different ways. Alex Follis started as a guest, and
right?
he's bought a house in Irishtown, and has lived there quite contently. And his partner comes in to visit for significant chunks of the year now. So it's quite an amazing thing, that those connections. And Jeanette Lambermont-Morey is another one that came from Ontario and now has property in St. John's and has started a company out there. So
back and forth.
And
it's great.
How amazing.
I would not be adverse to that at all. I really do love Newfoundland. I think it's stunning. And it reminds me of home. It's like a call home. So
well, I think there's so many intersections, between places. I think that's one of the great gifts that theater brings, is we have an awareness of where things intersect and where stories come from and where they shift in and out of. So, hearing that you ran an Irish theater company for some time, Irish theater, of course, has a lot of similarity in roots with a lot of the theater of Newfoundland, of this place. So
sure does. It sure does. Yeah.
Similar storylines, similar stories, of that. So it's interesting to even hear that. It's quite exciting.
You know what? It's for me, it was about a study in resiliency and the love of the land and the love of community. Those are huge in my artistic work, my portfolio. That's where I always come back to, is this idea of community and how do we help each other through the hardest of times.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's certainly, something that audiences can connect to and resonate with and feel. So it's exciting to hear, to hear that. It is all those intersecting lines and stories is so exciting to see, and a pride of place and a celebration of place and what it means in so many different ways, as we're heading into more decolonized practice.
Yes.
It has even more meaning, where we're finding new stories and new resonance to the place and what it means to different cultures is quite exciting.
True. There's so many layers of narrative that are held in the rock.
Yeah,
everywhere,
absolutely.
Right? They just need to be unearthed and shared. So
that's wonderful, and it's funny you mentioned the Music Man. Canberra Arts, actually, our first community musical endeavor last year was the Music Man, and we had over 100 people involved. I was able to to don the cap as Harold Hill, which was a great joy. But what stood out, when we were choosing the show, and actually Jerry Etienne directed that, who's on sabbatical now, but works at Grenfell quite frequently, was that it was a community not unlike this place, and it's a very proud people, a little stubborn. And then they welcome
Iowa,
this, and it becomes this amazing thing. So it's so interesting, again, those intersections that we have right away from 10 minutes into a conversation, we find those connections. So we'll move in now to, you are both here, you are both from away. And Lisa, you talked about kind of what brought you here, but what has been some of the joys and perhaps some of the challenges about finding yourself not only in a different continent, but a different country than you initially planned to be in, and a relatively rural province, you know? So what have been finding Grenfell and the joys and the challenges of that space?
Honestly, Corner Brook and Newfoundland itself reminds me of home a lot, because I'm also from like a small town in the south of Russia. So it's like very close to Georgia. It's real hard to explain where I'm from because people usually is like, oh, are you from Moscow? I'm like, no, it's not there.
It's a lot of land.
Yes,
and
it's a
fairly
huge
sparse.
country,
Much
and
like,
it's
you know,
really hard to
Newfoundland's
explain.
very small, but it's very sparse in
To be
terms of
honest,
where
I
people
didn't
are.
know what Newfoundland is until I came here. I was like,
Yeah.
does Canada has an island? I had no idea.
There's a couple.
Oh, yeah, now I know.
No, you know? Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually very lovely. Of course, as a in my 20s, I do want to have fun, like.
Yeah.
But it's nice that I can focus on my studies here, and it's nice that there's a lot of peace. Like if I need time for myself, I can easily access. There are a lot of beautiful trails, and I can enjoy myself in the forest, which is amazing, and the nature is amazing.
No, it's certainly a gift. And you know, right up to the campus, the Corner Brook Stream Trail goes all the way up to
Yes,
there,
it's
you know, and
beautiful.
all the way over to Massey Drive. It's quite amazing. We're connected in that way, and especially in the fall. My only qualm with the fall is I wish it lasted like 2 months longer. You know, give me September all the way to like Christmas Eve, and then it can snow. But, you know, the leaves are already almost gone at this point. You know, we get color for like, wow, okay. And then it's over. But certainly a wonderful space to find that. You know, I remember even being from here, you know, many late night walks just to clear things out because you're in rehearsal at Grenfell from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., Monday to Thursday. And you have your other classes, some of which start at 9 or earlier if you take a certain elective. So you need that decompression time when you're in a rehearsal space. You never leave that and you're like, oh, I'm exhausted, ready for bed. You leave it and you're like, I'm really tired, but I am pumped up because we just did something. So it's a very funny space to find that relaxation again. So it's great to hear that you're able to find that and find that serenity. And I guess, again, Muskoka and Newfoundland have some similarities too.
They're
but
similar.
What have been the joys and challenges of finding yourself here this term?
I mean, the people, I would say, is the first thing. The people, my colleagues, they're extraordinary. They're authentic. They care about the work. They care about each other. And that sometimes gets lost in the arts world. So this genuine sense of care and kindness has been really extraordinary. Waking up and driving from Benoit's Cove to the campus and seeing the mountains in the distance and the water it never ceases to amaze me. Like I'm in awe every day. I have 1 million pictures of the same vista under different light.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nothing captures it. Like it's truly extraordinary. So the people in this place and the kindness, I think kindness and the care and the authenticity are the things that really resonate with me. And it's a lovely place to collaborate with people. When they approach the work with that kind of care and kindness, I think anything is possible. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess this experience has been very much collaboration. You know, as a director, you come in and you meet a design team that is working at the school and also teaching.
Yeah.
The stage manager this year is here from St. John's. So you've really built a team that you're given. You know, you don't really choose your team. You're given the position, and then you meet all of these people that you're going to collaborate very closely with for some time. And it's wonderful to hear that that's been a gift, you know, to have those wonderful folks involved.
Yeah, it's really been extraordinary, and like the students are amazing. Like they're just so aware of the world, the form, and care about it. And sometimes that also gets lost in the haze of craziness that surrounds you in other provinces. This is my first time in Newfoundland too.
Oh, wow.
I know. So that is also a massive gift. I mean, I spent a lot of time in Ireland over the years, but this is my first time this far.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It really is amazing.
Yeah. No, and I think, I enjoy the Avalon and St. John's, but I'm very glad that your first experience can be on the West Coast, because there's such wonderful things, unique things that the West Coast has to offer in Newfoundland. And with that, we're going to move into this show, which is a big one. It's a big, beautiful show, a story that has seen numerous adaptations. This is one of them. This is by Sarah Ruhl, who's a wonderful playwright, I think, in telling story, Eurydice. And, recently it's been seen in musical theater as Hadestown, which again took a new twist on the narrative there. But it's also a story from a very classic age of theater that has been brought to probably hundreds of translations and different versions and storytelling. So, Autumn, why that show, and what has it been like to bring it to life here?
Why the show? I've always wanted to do a Sarah Ruhl play, and I was fascinated by the journey of grief. The play is about grief and its ridiculousness, its sneaky way of coming at you. And, I've had a lot of grief myself over the last couple of years, and it was a good way for me to kind of mine that. But there's an absurdity to it, which I find fascinating. It's now been made into an opera. The Met is doing it.
Wow.
And it's the text of the play, and it's very operatic in its scope. So there's an epicness to it, which I find appealing, but it's also incredibly simple. Like, it's a simple story about trying to find stolen moments and with people that you love. And that journey is quite awesome and beautiful. I think it's beautiful. So that's why I chose it. I love the simplicity and the naturalism of it, but also the epicness of it. Those opposites really attracted me to it. And Sarah Ruhl, she's really weird.
Yeah.
And I love that she embraces the weirdness of grief, because grief is weird, and there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah.
So.
No, there's so many metaphors for grief in life that we hear, and some are helpful and some are like, that's not true. That's not how I went through it. But it is how someone did, and I think that's the interesting thing about it is some things are consistent, others are so distant from each other as we go through that. And Sarah Ruhl, I should say too, is, for those who've seen shows at Grenfell, not an unfamiliar name. The Vibrator play was done a number of years ago, and Sarah Ruhl's translation of Three Sisters by Chekhov. So certainly,
and Orlando last year.
Yeah, right. I forgot that wasn't. So certainly, I think a writer that has had such significance to theatrical culture, not only in their own writing and telling of stories, but finding source material and being able to share that is, a wonderful writer to see and to hear the words.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that it's from Eurydice's perspective, it's the whole myth of Orpheus and Eurydice, but it's from her perspective. It kind of reminds me of Margaret Atwood's Penelopiad, or Penelopiad. People say it differently. I say Penelopiad, but this idea of women reclaiming the narrative, I find incredibly empowering. And finally, yes.
Yeah.
I love Sarah Ruhl's.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, you got it.
And you are Eurydice in the show. What has that been like to not only play Eurydice, but play an empowered version of Eurydice that gets to tell that story and reclaim it in many ways? Because so often, including Hadestown, that's a lot of Orpheus. It's a lot of Orpheus
Even in the
time.
new Chaos
You know?
TV series with Jeff Goldblum, it's all about Orpheus, right?
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. Eurydice is such a wonderful character and such an important story, I think, because it's a character that deals with desperation, that deals with abuse, that finds comfort in an abusive relationship, really, with Hades. So what is it like to step into that and know that it's from your perspective as Eurydice?
It's actually amazing how Eurydice is just such a simple girl when you really dig into her. I saw a lot myself in her as well, which helped me a lot. I mean, no, a lot of people experience things that Eurydice experiences. Just in her perspective, it's just a little more, you know, we see a story of the underworld. We don't get to see that in real life.
Yeah.
But yes, and the theme of grief is something that is pretty close to me, especially in terms of her father, the relationship with her father. It's something very personal to me, and it reminds me of my relationship with my grandfather. And so this play is actually, like, I'm really happy to be in a place where I get to work on my emotions as well. I relieve my emotions one more time. And sometimes seeing Alex Paulus on stage is like seeing my grandfather on stage, and I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
We won't say grandfather to him tonight. It's
So yeah, it certainly has connections to my personal life, and I find myself in Eurydice in some ways. But yes, it's fascinating to see how she's working on finding her own self throughout this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, you know, as much as it's a journey of grief, I think most grief is a journey of self.
Yes.
As well,
It's about redefining yourself. I actually had this huge existential talk with myself the other night about what is grief? Why do we grieve? We grieve because we love, right? That if we didn't love, we wouldn't grieve. There wouldn't be that loss. So grief is a reminder that we have loved largely, right? But also it's about redefining yourself without people that have defined you, right? And how do you begin to do that? It's a big, flailing, ugly, messy world, and I think that's what's fascinating about this piece. I mean, Eurydice gets to have this new relationship with her father again, and find the memories that they shared, and be in that space with him, and it's great. And it's a beautiful.
It's a second chance to experience something with a person you love the most, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and to expand on that love that you had. Yeah. Because sometimes you don't know where to put the love when someone leaves. You're like, oh, this feels really gross. I don't know where that goes now. Yeah. Do I put it on myself? Oh, that seems narcissistic. Like, you know what I mean? But it is for me. It is a reminder of our capacity for love, like playing in those opposites. Yeah. Well, it certainly sounds like something that should be seen. I hope our audience listening to the show and watching this show is able to see the show. When can they see the show and where? It's at Grenfell Campus in the Fine Arts Theatre. Yes, and in that beautiful space.
It's a wonderful, wonderful space.
Oh my gosh. It's October 30th to November 2nd at 8 p.m.
Where?
At the Grenfell Theatre, at the Grenfell campus.
Yeah. So, excellent. So, tickets are available for that production of Eurydice at Grenfell campus. Please go and buy the ticket. Go to the box office on the night. There's a little bit of risk there. You might not get it, but you could also call the box office. Their hours are all online. And it's interesting, again, the intersection of theater is actually coming up this weekend, Friday, October 25th, and Sunday, October 27th. Newfoundland legend Andy Jones is going to be traveling through the arts and culture centres on the 25th in Stephenville, the 27th in Corner Brook, with his reflection of his grief and exploration of the mental health system in Newfoundland about his son who died by suicide. That is Don't Give Up on Me, Dad. Andy Jones, brilliant storyteller, and I think certainly something that you want to see as well. So that's happening Friday, the 25th in Stephenville, Sunday, the 27th in Corner Brook. Following that, Wednesday, the 30th, all the way through Saturday, November 2nd, you can catch Eurydice. So 2 wonderful stories to share in art, in something that we as humans can all relate to. So hope to see you at one of those shows, if not both. And I'll see you next week at Canberra Arts and Rogers TV's The Stage Door.
Come to where the land and the spirits are intertwined. Discover a whole new way to see this place. Feel the earth under your feet as you walk the path of our ancestors. Immerse yourself in our traditions. Ours is a culture alive with music, dance, art, nature, and adventure. It's in the air, the water, the sound of the wind in the trees. It's in the stories of our elders and the faces of our children, those with a shared history yet to discover. It's knowing that everything that casts a shadow has a spirit. Everything is alive. See what we see. Experience Malibu.
Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Email us at comments@rogerstv.com or visit our website.
You're watching Rogers TV. Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
They've reached the summit! Back-to-back Stanley Cup victories.
Greatness.
And a new legacy begins. Absolutely amazing. It has happened in Vegas.
Is not a destination.
And lightning has struck twice.
It is a continuous journey that never ends.
These are the moments you dream of. Stanley Cup champions.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a